Hi, my name's Carrie and welcome back to my channel. I thought I would go ahead and do my first VR to Astral Lady Tarot in response to her video of my disheveled decks. I don't have that many to share with you today, but I do have 4, 2 Oracle and 2 Tarot. So my first disheveled deck is the Psychic Tarot Oracle deck. And if you did happen to watch my first video, you will have seen where I talked about trying to connect with the tarot when I started out 20 some years ago and I didn't feel comfortable in it and went the Oracle route instead. And it was this deck that made me feel comfortable with the energy of the tarot. And I know it's not a traditional tarot, but it carries enough of the tarot meanings that I was able to use it as a jumping off point for dipping my toe back into that tarot energy. I use this deck a lot, and as you can see, the edges are all scraped and chipped and the gilding is rubbed off, but it was one of my favorite decks and I used it quite often. Now this, even though it says Psychic Tarot, where it's supposedly based on the tarot system, it is missing all the court cards and it is missing the 10s in the minor arcana. But the majors have the same meanings as the regular standard tarot system. And I believe most of the minors do also. But with the keywords at the bottom of this deck, it was very easy for me to learn and start to connect that energy with the regular tarot system. And I really enjoyed my use of this deck, and it made me comfortable with the aspects of the shadow side of the tarot. The second disheveled deck I'm going to talk about is another Oracle, The Enchanted Map by Colette Baron-Reid. This is when I was ready to start fully stepping away from the angel decks that I talked about in my first video. I was wanting an Oracle deck that was a little deeper than just the positive side of a reading. And I found this one at a local bookstore, and you can see that it had quite a bit of wear also, with the chips along the edges of the card. And I do have the new version of this deck that is completely borderless, where she changed a few of the cards in it, but I will always have a special love for this one because it was my first Oracle that was different than any of the angel decks that I had been using. And this one has several cards in it that show the shadow side, and I really appreciated that because I was ready to expand beyond, like I had stated with the Psychic Tarot Oracle. I was ready for something more. I needed those angel cards to catapult me and help me to learn about my intuition and higher self and to start trusting it. But I was ready for something deeper, something that had a little bit more meaning to it and wasn't just focused on the same archangels or angels period So this one had a lot of use for me, and I read quite a bit with clients with this deck and the previous one, the Psychic Tarot Oracle. And I'm going to say that I am shocked when I started coming into the TarotTube community and watching different videos of how many tarot readers don't use Oracle. I guess that's because Oracle's where I started out, and so Oracle is actually my first love. But I was shocked, like I said, that so many of you don't even own Oracle decks, let alone use them that often. The next deck I'm going to show you is the Gilded Tarot by Ciro Marchetti. And I apologize if I pronounced his name wrong. This was my first tarot when I was ready to start actually reading with it. I had several, I won't say several, 4 other tarot decks. 2 of them I showed you in a previous video. I also had the Arthurian Legend, I believe, tarot, and the Spiral Tarot. But when I was ready to start studying the tarot and learning more about the meanings, this is the deck that I did that with. And this became a staple in my reading practice, and I used it for everything. As you can see, the numerous chips and gashes along the edges of the cards. I just, even though it is very Rider-Waite based, I fell in love with the richness of the images and the characters on the card. It was just very easy to connect to these, and it became easy for me to start to recognize the meanings and see some of the symbolism in the cards, which taught me how to weave my story with the cards. It will always be a favorite of mine. I did pick up the second version of this that is borderless, and I use that one more frequently than this one because I do like that I have the full image in front of me instead of these black borders. But yes, this is just a main staple in my readings, even today when I'm feeling that I just want something easy and not have to think about. This is the deck that I pick up. The last deck that I'm going to show you of my disheveled decks is my Wheel of the Year Tarot. I freaking love this deck, and I don't know why. It's just a standard mass market deck that I never really heard anything about online, and I just thought, oh, that looks neat, and picked it up, and it is my absolute favorite tarot deck, which probably sounds odd, but it is. Even the poor box is worse for wear, where it's all ripped. And so this is the deck that I primarily use for client readings, and there's a little bit of chipping on the edge, but not much, which is surprising considering how often I use this deck. And I have a multitude of decks that I could choose from. for a client reading, but for some reason, when I just want to throw down the cards and get the message across, this is the deck that I choose. Like I said, it's a favorite of mine. I love the colors. I love the images, which I guess are kind of cartoon-like, but I guess that's kind of my aesthetic. And it is a very easy read. I find the characters speak well to each other when I have the spread all laid out on the table, and I can just see conversations going on between the cards. And I get very profound readings from this deck, and use it not only for clients, but I have used it for myself too, but I kind of try to save it just for client readings. But it is a big favorite of mine, and one that no matter how many decks I acquire, I will probably still continue to use, because I just feel that it gives the best readings for me, and I love the characters on it. So this was just a short VR on my disheveled decks, and I've been watching the videos under that hashtag and really enjoying seeing what everyone else has picked. So thanks for stopping by my channel, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time.